Often organizations in your arena talk about shifting left, and the idea being, do all the work in development. Obviously, that's a great idea, but nobody does it. Tell me what you mean by the term shift out.
That work that goes from, say, where the scanning and analysis and triage happens back to the engineer's desk, shift left has effectively been a tremendous failure, meaning that it never lived up to what's expected. Shift out is an idea that we've coined here at Root, and that really means for certain classes of problem that you thought was shift left would work for, in the agentic, modern world, can we build automated systems using AI and workflow and automation?
Why don't I just build some agents to do that work?
So first of all, the average organization in the make versus buy problem doesn't have a nucleus of people that really know how to fix and patch things. We do. It's a core competence, a deep core competence of our company. From that, we learned what it takes for a human being to do this work. And then we started to apply agents first as augmentations to that process. And now the script is flipped. We have the agents who attempt to produce every patch autonomously. And we have the humans in the loop to be sure that we're overseeing them in a way where we can interject human judgment at the moment where the agents need their support, and really had that automation be at effectively like a 90% rate now.
Welcome back to the Security Strategist Podcast, your roadmap for evolving cybersecurity. I'm Richard Stiennon, and I will be your host for this episode. I'm the Chief Research Analyst at IT Harvest, an author and a trusted advisor to vendors, VCs, and private equity firms. Today, we are joined by John Amaral, who is the co-founder and CTO of Root.io. This episode, we'll be talking about how AI is changing vulnerability management. We will cover everything from ongoing scans to real fixes. Additionally, we'll explore why shift out might be the new security mindset that every company needs. Welcome, John.
Hey, Rich. Great to see you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, tell us how you came to found Root, and just what problem were you tackling?
Awesome, thanks. Yeah, so Richard, we've collaborated on and off over maybe like almost 20 years now, right? In different places. I've been an executive and leader of companies that build security products, and prior to starting Root, I was the chief product officer for Cisco Cloud Security, and it may sound, I think, normal and rational that we had to deal with vulnerability management as a company building some of the most important cloud security products. And it was apparent to me during that time that the systems and methodologies we use to do vulnerability management, especially on some of our FedRAMP systems where that really came to a head because of the regulatory pressure, was not really keeping up. And this is 6 years ago, right? So it wasn't keeping up in that we had long lists of CVEs. We had lots and lots of pressure to fix them. We were pretty good at it, and Cisco can afford to be good at pretty much anything it decides to be good at. And we were good at it, I would say, comparatively to the industry, and we cared a lot about it. But it was a grind for our engineering teams to actually get through that, understand them all, and try to fix them. It was very much a shift left mindset. We were taking the outputs of security scanners. There are copious scanners that produce copious results, and prioritizing, triaging. It's kind of a scan and inventory first approach, which is the traditional approach to vulnerability management, right? Get a list, make sure you scan everything, take the most important stuff from that list, and then go figure out how to fix it. But a lot of that lands on the desks of your best engineers, especially when it comes down to, okay, I've got to upgrade a library, or there's no patch for that library. And when I upgrade it, it's going to break my software because my software depends on certain versions. So we ended up in this kind of conundrum, right, where you had important things to fix. Your best people want to work on new software, and create value for the business, not fix things that they really don't have ownership over, open source components. We were in that conundrum, and I thought it might be useful to build a company that basically turns that whole apple cart over and says there's a new way to do this, and that's what Root is. It's a company trying to figure out a new way to do that, and luckily we have.
Fantastic. Often organizations in your arena talk about shifting left, and the idea being, do all the work in development. Obviously, that's a great idea, but nobody does it. Yeah, tell me what you mean by the term shift out.
Yeah. So obviously, as you're overturing here, that that work that goes from, say, where the scanning and analysis and triage happens back to the engineer's desk results, and this is documented, and there's lots and lots of studies on this, that shift left has effectively been a tremendous failure, meaning that it never lived up to what's expected, and that means, what is the mean time to remediation rate for important CVEs that wind up on that list? And there's a vast set of problems that mitigate the ability for organizations to do that. Some of them are, one, when you're trying to fix open source software and dependencies, you don't know what those libraries are. They're vast sets of code bases, and the engineers working on your team who know your first party code are not experts at fixing the code in the open source. The maintainers are, but those maintainers don't always fix things the way you'd like them to. They don't fix things in the versions you need the fixes in. They might fix it in version 2, but if I'm on version 1.5, to upgrade is a big pain, right? So upgrading risk is really high. Your engineer is not qualified to know how to kind of fix things or understand the impact. They don't really want to be working on these things, so they don't apply the level of effort or maybe interest that they should. And in the end, roadmap wins out over security often. So these things don't get fixed in shift left for all these reasons. Shift out is an idea that we've coined here at Root, and that really means for certain classes of problem that you thought was shift left would work for, in the agentic, modern world, can we build automated systems using AI and workflow and automation, sort of like the way that CI/CD took a lot of work off the developer's desk on building software and keeping it up to date and producing outcomes. Developers don't think about building things every minute. They write their code locally, and they push it to the repo, and the CI/CD builds it for them. Back in the day, I remember, I have, no hair, but enough gray hair to remember when it was my job to build the thing I was making, right? Like this wasn't automated. It was very hard. So what the shift out movement is, especially around vulnerability management, is the idea that we can today, and Root has built systems that you don't have to shift left. Our job is to go figure out how to patch those vulnerabilities and fix those vulnerabilities on behalf of your organization in a comprehensive way that basically mitigates all of those reasons we can't shift it left and finish it. And that means to augment the packages that you use with security fixes exactly the way you need them, and inject those into your dependencies in a way that you don't have to worry about them being fixed. They just always are. And that shift out is send the work to us and our fleet of agents and our team. We know how to do that very well. We'll fix them. And two, now you have a clean, I'll say, automatically and pre-remediated set of dependencies that you don't have to think about anymore. So there's no more triage, and there's no more prioritization. There's no more long lists. There's just a very high-speed reaction by our company to fix things the way you want them. That's the idea of shift out. Don't give it to developers. Give it to us. We'll take it.
Right. So it's outsourcing in a sense. It's outsourcing to automated agents that you have created and obviously have to maintain and do all the hard work. Because that raises another question. It's like, hey, AI and agents are taking over everything, and I'm a head of whatever security for my app development. Why don't I just build some agents to do that work? What's the make versus buy decision?
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into doing this. It sounds, like I think in this day and age, there's a lot of hand wavy, like the agents, right? Like it's become a cliche almost. I went to KubeCon and before that Black Hat, and I'm at all the shows. That's where we try to meet people and tell our story and sell things. And you see AI agents, it's kind of across every booth, and a lot of it's nebulous, right? I think we've really invested in this as a company. We've been doing research and development on this now for over 2 years on the agentic part of this. But for a long time, much longer than that, we've been in the business of understanding how to fix container images and open source software. So at the core of our company, we have a pretty dense expertise in fixing open source libraries. We know how to do it by hand. I personally do it frequently. So first of all, the average organization in the make versus buy problem doesn't have a nucleus of people that really know how to fix and patch things. We do. It's a core competence, a deep core competence of our company. From that, we learned what it takes for a human being to do this work. We understand the processes, we understand the approach, we understand the research, we understand the development parts. We deeply studied the theory behind that and our approaches and our process. And then we started to apply agents first as augmentations to that process. But as we got more expert and as the LLMs became more efficacious at writing code, we were able to start to replace human work cycles with equivalent agent work cycles. And for a long time, we compared them. We had a human developing a patch, we had an agent developing a patch over this like year plus of evolution. And we saw that we were able to reach this kind of 85 to 90% equivalence, and came up with a lot of clever ways to do that. And a lot of it, deep engineering and computer science and use of these LLMs. So we got really good at building agents that can approximate or even equilibrate the outcome of our human people. And now the script is flipped. We have the agents who attempt to produce every patch autonomously, and we have the humans in the loop to be sure that we're overseeing them in a way where we can interject human judgment at the moment where the agents need their support, and really had that automation be at effectively like a 90% rate now. So 90% of the time, the agents can produce a human equivalent patch for an arbitrary open source project for a given version that would meet the kind of QA muster that a human can assess it, and then the humans come in and augment it, and any augmentation we do for, say, the 10%, that long tail, we capture that as feedback and we re-engineer the agents so that long tail keeps getting sort of shorter and shorter, or more and more covered. So that's how we did it. In addition to that, to be able to produce, we can effectively produce a patch for any open source project, or fix it. There's a tremendously large and complex software factory that goes alongside those agents to be able to produce those, monitor them, scan them. Generically, very few or near no organizations have built a software factory that's good at building any package on any version from any open source. And that's part of what we needed to do. And the agents work within that software factory to come up with new fixes that get injected, and then we produce those packages or those containers or what have you. So the build part of this would be taking on both the expertise, the know-how, and the refinement of these agents, which is a long journey, and two, building a software factory that can build any open source software, which is hard to do. So yeah, we specialize. We've invested a lot. We raised a lot of money to do it. It's not easy. Can someone do it? Yeah, I mean, I think if you invest a commensurate amount, but we've already done it and it works. So we've absorbed those costs and all of that learning.
Yeah, classic. So I'm thinking on the customer side, you are proposing something that I can see a lot of resistance to. It's like, oh my God, you're going to touch my code, before it goes to production. How do you build what's the trust journey for customers as they go through?
So the first thing, that's a great point, but I think the reality is we're not touching their code. We're touching some maintainer's code in the open source that they had little to no control over anyway. So, and they were at the mercy of that maintainer's new versions, right? And honestly, the status quo in the industry is to just take those changes with I would say from my perspective, being a security guy for 30 years, A lot less vetting than I think is necessary, to be sure. And we're seeing it now with like Shai Hulud and all of these NPM attacks that are happening right now. That, first of all, radical upgrading is an extremely dangerous thing. You should not take a maintainer's changes without vetting them. We're doing that for you, of course, as we look at all these fixes. But what we're really doing is taking a problem away that folks kind of didn't have an answer for. And that is the open source software that I use has a maintenance gap. The version I'm on doesn't have the fixes I need. It's not being maintained the way I'd like it. And that's even for great maintainers, by the way. And I would say that I don't mean to mischaracterize the set of maintainers as being not good. They just don't fix it the way that you need to if you're a production user of their libraries, which means you want to fix in the version you're using. You don't want to fix in the next version because, again, the upgrade risk is really high. So that's the gap, right? And the maintainers aren't in the business of going back and backporting their fixes for their latest version to all the previous versions. They're like, hey, I'm a maintainer guy. I do this in my spare time, or I do this for joy and love and goodwill, right? Just take my new version, right? I fixed it. I really did. It's right there, but it's not practical. And I'd say that open source maintenance is not set up for that. So these more and more, because of regulatory pressure, the confluence of new CVEs are this kind of confluent, this large stream of new CVEs for various reasons, which we could get into, and heightened risk over supply chain attacks from the things we've seen with NPM. This is driving people to realize they've got to do something now. CRA is driving this, right? We'll probably talk about that later. But they know they need to do something now. They don't have the staff to do it. And it's really not their code. And they don't want to become maintainers of 100 open source projects. So I don't get that my code pushback. And again, we don't delve into your first party code. So we're not trying to fix things there. There's a lot of companies that do that stuff.
Yep.
We're fixing the stuff you don't own and don't want to own. So surprisingly, we don't get a lot of pushback. They're like, please help me fix these vulnerabilities in Spring Boot version, XYZ. I don't know what to do, and the regulators are up my butt to get it fixed.
We're going to run out of time before we get to the EU CRA or FedRAMP requirements for software hygiene as you're building it.
Yeah,
I do want to talk about something Root.io does, which is openly publish backported patches. Explain that to me.
yeah. So we really believe in open source software in general as a secure and massively valuable thing. We don't want to see the reaction to this is for companies to prioritize vast swaths of open source, call it their own software, and then become the single point of failure for the supply chain. What we think we need to do, right, is to build a kind of a secure and trusted way to do maintenance across a range of open source, and let the parts of the open source that are secure and are working work the way they have. I mean, Linux has been like one of the greatest experiments in human history, right? Like its leverage has been incredible, and it's very secure and very well done, right? So I think we need to raise the bar on how we deliver secure software. At just a lot of the work from the SigStore group and creating a foundation for provable trust in the supply chain is super important. The second is, let's make it easy for software to be maintained from a security perspective, and with the scalability of AI and the modern systems we have, I think we can actually grok the problem of understanding and securing open source in partnership with maintainers. Part of that partnership, of course, is that when you fix something in their software, you let them know what you did. Because I would love it if the maintainers would participate in that and look at these patches and give feedback, and also take them into their systems and ecosystems if they can. And it's an obligation, I believe, on our part to make that publicly known. Like when I fix something in a maintainer software, I should show the world. So we do. Our agents are always running, our team's always running and fixing things. Whenever we make a patch for a given version of a library, we literally publish the essence of that patch, the dips we've made, to a shared public GitHub repo. Operationalizing these is a lot of the value that we provide. Like I said, we have this software factory, and it's hard to consume patches, but it's really not that hard for maintainers to consume patches, right? We can do it because we're producing a software stream to our customers that they can just use, drop in, right? Like let's just use it directly. But we share that. We believe it's part of our our obligation to the world to make that available. And if people want to go use them, they can. And I think that's part of the
That's
holistic
amazing.
nature of open source.
Yeah, no, I love that. So you will have a customer and they'll have a bunch of libraries and you find problems with them, you patch them for your customer,
Yep.
but also make the patch available to the world. And there will be a whole bunch of people who aren't your customers that are benefiting from the work you do.
Correct. Exactly. If you're an open source developer yourself, you're consuming the same library, you're a single maintainer, and you rely on those dependencies, and you want to be a good steward to make your stuff as secure as possible, you could take our patches, apply them to the library. You're already building software anyway, and ship it in your version. And we've spread the love across the open source universe, which I think is our obligation, honestly.
So if you had to share a 60-second takeaway for CIOs, CTOs, VP of engineering from our conversation today, what would you say?
I would say that first, that the AI age, the LLM age right now is providing us opportunities to do things with a degree of leverage and scale and efficiency that we've never seen before. And I'm living it firsthand with the ambitions we have with our company to make security maintenance at open source scale a reality. I think that traditional vulnerability management best practices that start with this kind of triage and scan, inventory, scan, triage, prioritize is a dying kind of methodology. Just like, for instance, unassisted software development, AI software development is a dying methodology. We're entering into an age when these problems of scale and security are going to be within reach to automate completely, and that you should be looking at an idea of remediation first, which means don't start by taking insecure things and then try to scan your way to success. Find a way, a leveraged way, to start by default with secure inputs to your software development process. And techniques like we're doing and our approach can literally make your vulnerability management system something by default, which is you're always starting with secure libraries, and that's key. We take a very specific approach in that we want to make sure that not only are you starting with secure libraries, but they're the libraries you already use and you want in the way you want them, and you don't have to worry about this kind of false upgrade need. You can get the version you're using securely, and we'll help you maintain that for the lifespan you decide. You may need to upgrade the software to version 2 because you want more features, or you just want to be on the latest version. And we'll secure that for you too. So you get to decide based on your strategy on when to take upgrades, and you can be secure in that void.
This is beautiful. Thank you so much, John, for joining us today. Also, thank you to everyone listening. We hope you took a lot away from this podcast. For further information on what we've talked about, please head over to root.io. We'll be back next week with another episode in our podcast series. Until then, make sure you subscribe to this podcast on all major platforms and follow the conversation to our socials at EM360Tech on Twitter and LinkedIn. And for more great daily content, head on over to em360tech.com.